Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The stock markets make a positive start to the week. The Sensex is now within touching distance of 66,000. Sebi announces a review of eligibility criteria for the introduction and continuation of stocks in the futures and options segment. Paytm founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma stitches a sweet deal to buy 10.3% of Antfin's stake in the company in return for optionally convertible debentures. This ensures the private investor retains its economic interest without depreciation risk. The move also strengthens the founder's grip on the fintech major. Mahindra & Mahindra CEO Anish Shah says they may spin off the electric vehicle business in 5 to 7 years. Says they're targeting EVs to account for 20 to 30% of their portfolio. Also clarifies that RBL Bank is a profitable investment play for the company. Also offers industry insights. The Supreme Court rejects GoFirst plea against the Delhi High Court's order that allowed lessors to inspect their planes. GoFirst claims that the High Court does not have the jurisdiction to hear lessors' plea. The Apex Court says it does not see the plea as a fit case to intervene. The Lok Sabha passes the Digital Data Protection Bill. Some amendments moved by the opposition defeated in a voice vote. Editors Guild of India raises several concerns, says certain provisions of the bill will have a chilling effect on press freedom. After pulling up the Manipur police force shoddy probe into the ethnic violence, the Supreme Court steps in, says high-ranking police officers from other states will be drafted into the CBI to probe the 11 cases of rape and sexual assault. Also forms a committee comprising retired High Court judges to oversee the investigation. Rahul Gandhi is back in Parliament as his Lok Sabha membership is restored days after the Supreme Court stayed his conviction. He will participate in the no-trust vote starting tomorrow. And the Barbie movie smashes box office, garnering more than $1 billion in ticket sales. Greta Gerwig is now the highest-grossing female movie director of all time. Well, let's start the day with the market action. The Lal Street did build on Friday's gain, so we thought the Nifty and the Sensex ending close to 0.5% in the green. That's the Nifty for you, up 80 points. The Sensex put on about 230 points. The Nifty Mid-Cap Index was up 193 points. The Nifty Bank closing in the red, lower by almost 50 points today. In the green, we saw stocks like M&M, Infosys and Reliance lead the market higher. As I just pointed out, the Nifty Bank, of course, was the underperformer. That was the start of our market action this Monday afternoon. Well, staying with the markets just after days of Morgan Stanley upgrading India's rating to overweight, the firm's chief Asia and emerging market equity strategist Jonathan Garner says India is at the top spot in the Morgan Stanley portfolio. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Garner added that India's rupee tendency to always remain stable is one of the key factors. Take a look.
For India, some of these secular drivers of the market are really falling into place. So it has moved up now, as you said, to number one in our ranking. And we think it's a time for foreign investors to re-engage with the market. Another key feature of India that we have been talking about in this note is the tendency of the rupee to be far more stable than in the past and to actually appreciate in real effective exchange rate terms versus the currency basket. India has this track record of compounding earnings now in dollars far faster than EM overall and certainly than China.
Well, that is Morgan Stanley on the Indian market. And staying with our markets, the regulator Sebi is all set to review rules that govern the futures and options segment. Now, in its annual report, Sebi says it will review the eligibility criteria for the introduction and continuation of stocks in the F&O segment. Yash is standing by now with more details. Yash, this has been anticipated. Take us through the details of what Sebi is saying and the implications of this possible move.
Well, Shireen, as you said, Sebi has been faced with this constant question on why certain stocks, even when they fulfill the eligibility criteria, do not come under the F&O segment, or when they miss the mark, they're not excluded out of it. Now, to answer that question, Sebi's annual report has made some very important observation. What Sebi said in its annual report is that they will review the eligibility criteria for introduction and continuation of stocks in the F&O segment. Now, as far as Sebi's stand is concerned, essentially derivatives where the underlying stock fulfills certain eligibility criteria, in that case, the stock gets included under the F&O segment. This is expected to happen as soon as the next review cycle itself. We'll have to wait and watch what stocks get included, what stocks get excluded. But of course, there are certain stocks always which are in the question of getting included or excluded. Now, to quickly take you through what are the 4 important eligibility criteria. One is a stock is chosen from top 500 listed companies for average daily market cap and average daily traded value for the past 6 months on a rolling basis. Median quarter sigma order, that value should not be less than 25 lakhs in the last 6 months. Also, market-wide position limit in the stock shall not be less than 500 crore. And finally, average daily delivery volume in the cash market shall not be less than 10 crore for the previous 6 months. These are the current 4 criteria which are needed for the stock to get included in the F&O segment. What we've been given to understand from our sources is that Sebi may look at altering these 4 points to include or subtract some points to make the system more efficient. There's also another proposal which Sebi may look at, which is auto inclusion or exclusion of stocks from the F&O segment. Just like Nifty inclusion and exclusion happens, straight away if any stock ticks all these 4 criteria, then it automatically gets included or excluded from the F&O segment.
All right, Yash, many thanks for joining us. That's the latest there on what the market regulator may do. This as per the indications in the annual report. Now, on to the action from the commodity space. Crude oil prices hitting 4-month highs after Russia and Saudi Arabia extended production cuts through September, further tightening supplies. That's not all. An attack on a key Russian oil export hub has also led to prices moving higher. In fact, oil prices have seen a sustained rally, with prices moving above for the 6th straight week. Oil giant Saudi Aramco posted a 38% drop in net profit in Q2. The company attributed the fall to lower crude oil prices as well as narrow margins in refining and chemicals. The company is also intending to distribute performance-linked dividends over 6 quarters, starting with $9.9 billion in Q3. And shares of Paytm gaining in trade after founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma stitched together a sweet deal to buy 10.3% of Antfin's stake in the company in return for optionally convertible debentures. Now, this will ensure that the private investor retains its economic interest without depreciation risk. Hormuz is standing by now to take us through the details. Hormuz, so this is a big one. No cash outgo, no leverage that Vijay Shekhar Sharma needs to take to get this deal done, but picking up 10.3% from Antfin, becoming the single largest shareholder.
Yes, indeed. And the news set the street abuzz before market opened this morning when Paytm informed the exchanges that promoter Vijay Shekhar Sharma will be acquiring 10.3% of Antfin's stake, and hence Antfin will cease to become the single largest shareholder in the payments aggregator. But there is more in the contours of this deal which shows that Vijay Shekhar Sharma is not paying Antfin any money for this stake. Now, as per this deal structure, Antfin will transfer 10.3% stake to Resilient Asset Management BV, in which Vijay Shekhar Sharma owns 100% stake. Now, in return, Resilient will issue optionally convertible debentures to Antfin for the transfer consideration. Now, post the completion of this transaction, Vijay Shekhar Sharma's direct and indirect stake in Paytm will go up to 19.42%, while Antfin's stake will drop to 13.5%. But what is an optionally convertible debenture? Now, it's a kind of debt instrument which allows the holder to convert them into equity at a later stage. This means that Antfin's economic interests in Paytm remain unchanged. How? Here's how. In case Paytm's price falls in the future, Antfin can redeem those debentures at a price at which they were issued and thereby protect their principal. However, in case the share price rises, Antfin can convert those debentures into equity and still enjoy the upside in the stock. This means that while Antfin's stake will drop to 13% as and when the deal is completed, it still has the option to increase its stake in the company at a later date. So what got the street excited? It's essentially the fact that Vijay Shekhar Sharma is willing to increase his stake in Paytm, and that the deal is an indication that Ant is still interested in the company and not willing to walk away in one single swoop. An excited street sent Paytm shares higher on Monday, and they've had quite the ride. Now, at the day's high of 887, the stock has more than doubled from its all-time low of 438. However, it is still 60% lower than its IPO price of 2150.
All right, Hormuz, many thanks for joining us. That's the story, the big deal there as far as Paytm is concerned. And speaking about markets being excited, Here's another stock that's been in focus. Zomato's strong first quarter performance has helped the stock move past the 100 rupee mark for the first time in 18 months in trade today. However, profit-taking did see the stock closing below that with gains of about 2%. Remember, the first quarter has seen the food aggregator turn profitable for the first time and post a net profit of 2 crore rupees. So that is Zomato, the stock closing just shy of 100 rupees. E-commerce marketplace Meesho says it's become India's first horizontal e-commerce firm to turn profitable. Though the company did not disclose its absolute profit figure, sources tell us that the company's profit after tax is under 10 crore rupees. Meanwhile, revenue over the last 12 months up 54%, driven by substantial growth in order volumes and the monetization rate. So that is Meesho claiming that it is now profitable. Shares of Britannia declining in trade after the FMCG company reported almost no volume growth in Q1. Analysts on the street were expecting a volume growth of between 5 to 6%. The management has put off a 2% price hike proposed earlier in a bid to protect volumes. Britannia's top brass also indicated that competitive pressures have forced price corrections and that it will employ necessary strategies to remain competitive. That's Britannia for you. On to Mahindra & Mahindra. The CEO Anish Shah says that the company may spin off its electric vehicle business into a separate entity in the next 5 to 7 years. In a conversation with CNBC-TV18, Shah said the company is targeting EVs to account for 20 to 30% of their portfolio. He also clarified that RBL Bank is a profitable investment play for the company and that it also offers Mahindra & Mahindra insights into the banking industry. Take a look.
We see lower margins when a new vehicle is launched because that's part of the cycle. It's part of building the brand. It's part of being able to reduce costs once we've got certain volume. And that's what will likely happen when every new vehicle is launched in the electric space. But as I said, we expect that to be 20 to 30%, so not a very significant number. It's a very good space for us to be in today before we launch our whole range of electric SUVs.
Well, that's Mahindra & Mahindra. Now, Saris Poonawalla Group has appointed Keki Mistry as the strategic advisor for all its financial services. Keki Mistry was HDFC CEO and vice chairman until its merger with HDFC Bank. Post the merger, Mistry became a non-executive director at HDFC Bank. The union government may revisit buffer stock limits for wheat and rice following possible production cuts from Thailand and Vietnam, and that's the word in from the Food Secretary Sanjeev Chopra. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Chopra said the government has noted the price rise in wheat and an import duty cut is an option being considered. It is a setback for GoFirst. The Supreme Court has refused to intervene in an order that's been passed by the Delhi High Court granting lessors of GoFirst access to their aircraft. The Apex Court has refused to intervene, saying that the lessors have the right over their planes. Ashpit is standing by now with more details. Ashpit, what does this now mean as far as GoFirst's plans are concerned? We still don't have any clarity on the relaunch, but this could perhaps put a further spanner in the works.
Well, indeed, GoFirst was hoping for some relief, hoping that there would be no intervention by the lessors, but that has not come to the Supreme Court bench headed by the Chief Justice himself, not making much of that and rejecting the application. Now, just for context, let's keep in mind that lessors had moved the Delhi High Court, whereby they had sought for deregistration of the aircraft. As an interim measure, what the Delhi High Court had said that these are expensive assets that need to be maintained, and to that end had granted lessors the interim relief of going ahead and inspecting the aircraft in question. That is something that GoFirst had an objection to, first challenged it before the division bench of the Delhi High Court and then before the Apex Court. The ground that they raise essentially is one of jurisdiction. GoFirst is essentially arguing that, look, this is an insolvency matter. This is an IBC matter, that NCLT should have exclusive preserve over these proceedings, that the Delhi High Court has no jurisdiction as far as hearing the lessors is concerned, and to that end had sought relief. The Supreme Court, however, the bench headed by the Chief Justice, observed that this is not a fit case for intervention, that there is no case that has been made out by the counsels for GoFirst for the Supreme Court to intervene and to turn that relief around in any shape or form, and to that end has dismissed GoFirst's application that was seeking a stay of that Delhi High Court order. So the proceedings now move back to the Delhi High Court. Keep in mind there are multiple proceedings here. One, of course, before the NCLT, where insolvency proceedings are currently underway. The other, of course, is before the Delhi High Court, where the lessors are seeking deregistration of aircraft. A fine line between them, but proceedings nonetheless against GoFirst.
All right, Ashmit, many thanks for joining us. That is the latest there as far as GoFirst is concerned. Now, disappointing market debut for Yatharth Hospitals. It listed at a premium of just 2% on the exchanges. The overall issue was subscribed over 36 times during the 3-day bidding period. The company raised over 680 crore rupees from its initial stake sale. In a bid to strengthen trade and economic ties, the 12th round of free trade agreement talks between India and the UK has commenced today. Reports say that both countries are looking to conclude the negotiations before the end of the year. The main issues that are likely to come up in this round include reduction of duties on auto and whisky and the investment treaty between both countries. That shifts gears now to the auto sector. Domestic auto sales up 10% in July, driven by growth across most segments as per data compiled by FADA, that is the Dealers Association. Total three-wheeler sales jumped 74% in July and two-wheeler sales rose 8% on a year-on-year basis. However, passenger and commercial vehicles grew marginally, so that is the picture as far as auto sales are concerned. We will head into a break, but up next, Rahul Gandhi back in Parliament as his Lok Sabha membership is restored days after the Supreme Court stayed his conviction. That and more when we return. Well, the top national stories that we are tracking: Congress leader Rahul Gandhi back in Parliament after 4 months as his membership was restored. This comes days after the Supreme Court stayed his conviction in the 2019 defamation case over the Modi surname remark. Gandhi will participate in the no-confidence motion debate, which begins tomorrow. Pallavi Ghosh joins us now with more. Pallavi, so Gandhi back in Parliament will take part in the debate, and this is what the Congress was hoping for, but let's see how the government responds.
Well, it certainly was a big moment for the Congress party, but more specifically for Rahul Gandhi, when finally after his suspension was revoked, he entered the parliament. The first thing he did really was that going after the Mahatma Gandhi statue and also make the point that his has been a fight for truth against the politics of hatred which is peddled by the BJP. That's the allegation which comes in from Rahul Gandhi. But it was very clear that the party wants to milk this entire situation and opportunity, and therefore all the Congress MPs were asked to be present inside Parliament and outside at the gate to welcome him. And interestingly, Sonia Gandhi too was there to meet up with him. Important messaging over there. First of all, when, as I just mentioned, he's going up to Mahatma Gandhi statue is a symbolic point which he wanted to score. And Sonia Gandhi being present there means that the Congress see this as a big political moment. Well, now clearly all eyes on a no confidence motion. Will Rahul Gandhi versus Prime Minister be the main talking point when that discussion begins on the no confidence motion tomorrow and the Prime Minister ends on 10th. Clearly, Rahul Gandhi would want to use this opportunity to raise several questions against the Prime Minister, and similarly PM will use this as a strong pitch to attack both Congress as well as the India Front Alliance.
Pallavi, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Supreme Court has passed a slew of directions in the Manipur matter today. The court said the high-ranking police officers from other states will be drafted into the CBI to probe the 11 cases of rape and sexual assault. This comes days after the court criticized the Manipur police for what it called lethargic probe into incidents of violence. The state's Director General of Police, Rajiv Singh, who was summoned by the court, appeared before the bench today. Meanwhile, nearly 6 people have been killed in fresh incidents of violent clashes across Manipur over the weekend. The Cookies People Alliance, which was 2 members in the State Assembly, has withdrawn its support to the BJP-led government.
Our party is very small in number, so we don't carry much weight, but still we express our grievances against the present government because they ignore our plight and our sufferings and trauma and tragedy that has taken place.
Haryana continues to remain tense. Incidents of violence being reported in Panipat. State officials lifted the curfew temporarily from Haryana's new district for public movement. Further, the Punjab and Haryana High Court has ordered a halt on the demolition exercise being conducted by the government in the district of New. The emergency ward at AIIMS Delhi has been shut temporarily after a fire broke out in the endoscopy room near the ward. All patients and staff were safely evacuated. The fire was brought under control. Patients coming to the hospital for emergency care were asked to go to the Safdarjung hospital. And here's the latest on Niger. Niger's coup leaders have closed down the country's airspace until further notice, citing a threat from neighboring countries. This after a union of West African nations warned that it could use force if ousted President Mohamed Bazoum was not reinstated. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching from all of us here on the team. For now, goodbye and stay tuned. The news returns right after this very short break.